FBA fees climbing, I'm losing my grip. Storage costs rising, they'll never let me skip. Refunds I'm eating, returns pile up too. Oh, Amazon, what else will you do? I look at my dashboard, my profits erased. My margins are gone, it's a slap in the face. Prime Day's a promise, but it's such a race. How much will I make if I'm replaced? It's a cruel, cruel number. Fees keep climbing, profits torn asunder. Oh, it's cruel, the sellers wonder how to survive when the margins go under. It's a cruel, cruel number. Every month it's something new to plunder. Oh, it's cruel, it's no wonder we're stuck in this game. The algorithm's thunder.
Yo, Amazon's back, and they got a new scheme. Reimbursement slashed, it's every seller's dream. They're digging deep, taking more from the pot. Let's break it all down, expose what they got. March 25, it's a policy drop. They say manufacturing costs, but we know it's a flop. Give us your cogs, they're demanding the price. But if you don't, they'll estimate nice. Nice for them, not for you. Watch your payout shrink. The comprehensive evil is a corporate wing. Lost in the warehouse, damaged on the floor. Now they pay you pennies, not a cent more. Fees on the rise, profits on the run. They don't lift a finger, but they pocket the fun. We're fair! They shout while they cut our shares. Amazon math, man, it's full of errors. Fees, taking our dough. They're stacking the deck, and it's sellers who owe. Reimbursements? Nah, they're taking us down, but we're still here, we don't mess around. Fees, straight to the top. Amazon's game, it'll never stop. Margins tight, but we keep the grind. Sellers unite, we're one of a kind.
I try to sell my product on Amazon, thought it'd be a breeze. But little did I know I'd be stuck with seller support disease. They never seem to solve my problems, just give me the runaround. I'm tired of waiting on hold. My patience is wearing thin, I'll never be found. Amazon seller support, you suck, you suck, you suck. Can't get no satisfaction. I'm out of luck, out of luck, out of luck. You don't care about my business, just trying to make a buck. Amazon seller support, you suck, you suck, you suck.
This one's for the sellers on the grind, getting left on red, wasting all their time. I hit up support, got an auto reply. Thanks for your patience, man, I wanna cry. Inventory lost, my margins are toast. Reps playing tag like the Casper the Ghost. They pass me around, it's a never-ending game. Nobody takes action, everybody shifts blame. My ASIN's down, I'm out of the race. They say they'll escalate, yo, what a disgrace. Amazon seller support, you're breaking my heart. No answers, no fixes, just tearing me apart. Hours in the queue, stuck in the dark. Amazon seller support, you're missing the mark.
Amazon game plan, that is the key. Seller central dashboard, that's where I be. Analyze the funnel, see what we lack, then we optimize. Sellers know it's a fact. I get it poppin', you know that it's lit. Climbing the rankings, ain't no room to quit. I check the data, they notice the stats. I keep the method, that's how you adapt. Metrics are showing, you know it's our cap. Amazon sellers, it's time to react. I'm about that action, I do this with passion. I got them like, whoa, what is this? Huh, whoa.
I don't know, dude. I think everybody's just buying stuff based on reviews and badges or whatever. They don't even know who we are. These customers don't even know the name of my brand. But they keep clicking add to cart like it's part of the plan. They see that Amazon badge and think it's all grand. But yo, they don't even know the name of my brand.
Build your store. Amazon's waiting, what you waiting for? Brand it loud, make it shine. Steven's here to drop the rhyme. Tiles, banners, plug and play. Your storefront's live, let's sell a day. Now listen up, I'm Steven Pope. Amazon guru, I'll help you cope. Step 1, get that trademark stamped. Without brand registry, your Amazon cramped. Head to Seller Central, log in quick. Manage stores tab, yeah, that's the trick. Upload your logo, flex that style. You're about to make Jeff Bezos smile. Where pick a template, marquee or grid. Drop your tiles like a branding whiz. Hero image, big and bold. This store's gonna glitter like digital gold. Flex, grow, build your store. Amazon's waiting, what you waiting for? Brand it loud, make it shine. Steven's here to drop the rhyme. Blue tiles, banners, plug and play. Your storefront's live, let's sell the day. Yo. In the trenches of the Amazon game, trying to survive while it's driving me insane. Nobody warns you, they just claim it's passive income. Nah, it's pain. I'm sitting at a birthday, laughing, chilling, next to a newbie Amazon seller spilling. She's like, Prime so smooth, it's a killer. Then tried to sell, now she's stuck in a thriller. Finding products, yeah, that's the first grind. Scrolling Alibaba, losing my mind. Sample suck, manufacturers decline. I'm like, dang, how's anyone doing this fine? Ship it in, pay for the bubble wrap, but they ship glass bottles in padded crap. Now I got hot sauce leaks, refund stacked, customers pissed. Man, I'm under attack. Amazon's a beast, it's a fight, no peace. From SEO to PPC, the hustle don't cease. Think it's passive? Nah, you better increase your tolerance for chaos or face defeat. Trademark wars, brand registry's a scam. They banned my brand, now I'm in a jam. Listings yanked, products ranked and tanked. Lost dogs in the catalog, my account shanked. Now let's talk ads, it's a rabbit hole. 1,000 hours deep, man, it's taking my soul. Weekly negations, bulk sheets for control. Excel's my new weapon, but it's taking its toll. SEO's no joke, keywords in the game. All text, A+ content, playing insane. Lifestyle shots, avatars for fame, but the CTR's low, all products look the same. Amazon's a beast, it's a fight, no peace. From SEO to PPC, from SEO to PPC, the hustle don't cease. Think it's passive? Nah, you better increase your tolerance for chaos or face defeat.
Let's go to Mac School. To Mac School. Class is now in session with Professor Pope. They got the SAP, cause Professor Pope wrote the recipe, helping Amazon sellers grow sales exponentially. Amazon's a jungle, but we map the strategy. Brand strategist playbook, it's a guide to victory. Troubleshooting catalogs, you know we got the answer key. Boosting all your rankings, turning sales into a legacy. SOB so deep, you think we studied at Mac School. Every step we follow leads to growth, yeah, it's a golden rule. Stuck on keywords, we'll find the ones that work the best. Using Helium-10, strike distance keywords past the test. Incremental indexing ensures the listing set to rise. From the back end to the bullets, optimization hits the skies. Brand store creation, yeah, we make it shine and flow. A+ content design makes conversions overflow. Need your images on point, best practices in the plan. All text and photo rules ensure your visuals command. SEO meets PPC, it's balanced, every step aligned. We'll construct the MKLs that drive rankings over time. Budget caps and bid adjustments, no more wasted spending. Segmentation builds campaigns that sellers can defend. Got a hijacker, no problem, we'll file to take them down. Review requests in action, 5-star ratings come around. Flat file updates, market share reports, it's all in reach. Professor Pope wrote the SOP so sellers learn and teach.
Meanwhile, my Amazon guys on the case, fixing up my problems at lightning pace. Ticket escalations, Mag's the boss. Even Amazon says we'll take the loss. Seller support don't know what's up. Passing the buck when the issue gets tough. They're the official team, but they can't comply. So they say, reach out to my Amazon guy. They're supposed to be the pros, but they can't decode policies and tools from their own damn road. I'm paying fees, yet they bring me stress. But Mag turns my chaos into pure success. Seller support reps, they throwing shade, but then admit, yo, Mag will get you paid. Third-party agency taking the throne while Amazon fumbles in their own damn zone. Seller support don't know what's up. Passing the buck when the issue gets tough. They're the official team, but they can't comply. So they say, reach out to my Amazon guy. So here's the truth, let's keep it real. Mag's the team with the pro-level skill. Amazon sellers, you know the vibe when support says call Mag. They'll give you peace of mind. Amazon seller support, you can suck my image stack. Sucking is all you're good at anyway. Bezos, hit me up if you want to sell seller support. I'm buying. There's a Jace. Peace.
All right, so we're going to be talking about pay-per-click advertising on Amazon, how you can maximize your results, get more sales, pay less, have better results, all that fun stuff. So my name is Kevin Sanderson. I'm the marketing and partnerships guy here at My Amazon Guy, and I've been selling on Amazon now for over 10 years. My very first sale was August of 2015, and here we are. Years later, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of my own money on Amazon ads. I figured out a few things along the way. I've hosted dozens of summits of mostly focusing on paid ads and conversions and driving sales on Amazon. So we're going to be answering your questions on how you can improve your results. So we already have questions coming in. One of the things I can say is if you want your questions answered, the best thing to do is get your question into the chat now, because I go for the most part in order. Sometimes I do go a little bit out of order if it makes sense to the conversation we're having. But I want to make sure to get to your question. And what ends up happening is we tend to run out of time at the end. People start asking questions at the end. Someone asks a question, it prompts another question from someone else. Then they put it into the chat. More people join us. So make sure to get your question in now so we can answer that for you. So I'm just kind of curious. What is one word you would use to describe your PPC right now? Sometimes I've used emojis in the past, but I'm going to say one word, just one, not a phrase, one word. Participation matters. But yes, so just give us one word in the chat to describe your PPC right now. I'm curious what that is. And I know we've got some questions coming in, which we'll get to here in a moment. Shafo78 says hello from the UK. Shafo78 also says misery. Okay, it can be misery. So that would be one word. So hopefully we can make it less Missouri, although Missouri is a state. Abanoob says money manhole. Which word of the two, Abanoob, do you prefer? Because we're going with one word. That's the rule here. Lanoy says learning. Well, that's good. That's a good way to look at it. Always looking for, what is a way you can learn, because there's always going to be something you're going to learn that's going to be a little bit different. Try a different technique, different strategy. Abanoob chose manhole. Okay, got it. So is this a hole that's pulling the man down? That's an interesting one. All right, so thank you to Shafo78, Abanoob, Ahmad, and who was the other one? Oh, Lanoy Chavez. Oh, and Shafo78 gave us a new word, suffering. Wow, so we got to turn that around. We got to help turn that around. And then Riaz says searching. So I guess you're searching. Searching is similar to learning. It sounds very analytical. So that's good. I like that. All right. So with that, for everyone who just gave me a word, you can email podcasts@myamazonguy.com and let us know that I promised you a free mag school course valued at $100, and we'll give you a free coupon code. And if you've won before, you can win again, because we've got tons of courses. And if you're watching this and you're like, well, how do I get a mag school course? Maybe you're watching the replay and you're no longer eligible for the giveaway here, but you could always go to mag-school.com. So mag-school.com. You can pick up courses where we teach a lot of what we teach on this YouTube channel. And you can learn all about taking your business on Amazon to a whole new level for things like PPC, SEO, advanced SEO strategies, catalog, design. I mean, there's a ton of stuff in there. So make sure to go check that out. All right. So next up, I'm going to start getting into some of the questions. And again, if you're just joining us, my big suggestion to everyone is ask your questions now, because what ends up happening is we get to the end, we got lots of questions, we don't get to all of them, and I want to get to as many of your questions as possible. So Abanoob Ahmad says, hey, Kevin, how are you doing? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I have a product with medium sales of 2 pieces per day. With PPC turned on and targeting many exact keywords, I feel like I'm wasting a lot on testing. Can you tell me when I should turn an exact off. Keep in mind, these targets are super relevant keywords to my product, and I even spend a lot on some and didn't get any sales. Okay, so that's a good question. So one of the things I like to think about with paid ads is I get this question a lot where people will say like, but this is a really relevant keyword. How do we know it's relevant? Now, we may make assumptions when we launch a product or launch a campaign. Okay, this keyword is relevant because maybe you look at the competition, maybe you look at a reverse ASIN lookup tool where you see like, okay, I've got 10 of my competitors, which are very similar products to mine. So theoretically, if people are buying for my competitors, they'll buy from me on the same keywords, but it doesn't always work like that because sometimes there's price, how many reviews do they have? Amazon always has a tendency to favor history. So maybe there's history on those products that your product doesn't have. So sometimes you have to work up to the big keywords. And this is not a dry erase marker, but this is my example I like to give. So pretend this is a dry erase marker. If you go on Amazon and you look up markers and you look up dry erase markers, or if you look up green dry erase markers, you're going to get very different products. And it's like completely different. So if you look at markers, it's like crafting markers, Crayola markers for school. There's not a lot of dry erase markers. There's some on page 1, but not a lot. It's mostly like coloring book markers, crafting markers, school markers, things of that nature. So oftentimes people will say, but markers is relevant. It might be semi-relevant, but it might be too broad. And you oftentimes, when you start off, you want to go more laser focused. I almost said more exact, but that wasn't what I was trying to get to, which I'll explain why here in a minute. So you want to go for the products that are more laser focused on your product, or sorry, the keywords that are laser focused on your product and the intent of the customer. So someone searching for, let's say, dry erase markers and someone searching for markers is completely different. But oftentimes we think markers is relevant because I have a marker and markers has a lot of traffic, so it must be relevant. So you want to go after more laser focused, like green dry erase marker, green dry erase chisel tip marker, set of green dry erase markers, whatever the case is. And then maybe you can broaden out a little bit to just dry erase markers. But you have to be very specific sometimes, especially when you're first starting out, because if you get too broad, it'll destroy your ability to, I almost said the K word, but I think YouTube doesn't like that. It will destroy your profitability oftentimes. So I think it's better sometimes to start more narrow focused and then start to broaden out as time goes on. Now, you asked the question about exact targets. So one of the things that is a Stephen Pope-ism, which I fully support, is oftentimes everyone is saying go after exact. So oftentimes people have these like kind of heuristics, these beliefs. You go after top of search and go after exact. And so if everyone is going after top of search and going after exact, what does that do for the price of top of search and exact? I know you didn't say top of search, but it's the same logic here. Oftentimes what will happen is it just drives the price up. So even if your product is relevant, Amazon can get away with charging you more for that keyword as an exact, as opposed to broader phrase, because everyone else is going for exact. So oftentimes there's a lot of deals in broad. You might still show up for that exact phrase in broad, and you'll show up for other potential keywords, other search terms, and those could get you sales. And those might be ones that all of a sudden you realize, okay, my product is really relevant to green marker for dry erase board, which I hadn't thought of phrasing it that way, but I'm showing up for that. So maybe now I'm going after that phrase, and there are going to be some deals there. So oftentimes you can get much better bargains on your keywords if you go for broad. And I know it's counterintuitive because you think, okay, but if that's the exact phrase I want to go after, then why would I broaden it up and use broad? But if you use broad and phrase, you'll oftentimes get better deals, and you might get the same search term as an exact and the same search term as a broad, and you will pay less in the broad. And sometimes Amazon even favors, if you have, let's say, in 2 different campaigns, the same keyword that you're targeting, one is an exact, one is a broad. Sometimes even that exact phrase will do better in the broad than it will in the exact. It's counterintuitive, but I think Amazon likes to have more control. And they still give us control. Like we can still negative exact some of the search terms that aren't working for us. So like, for example, if you go after dry erase markers and you're showing up for red dry erase marker and it's not relevant to your green dry erase marker, you could phrase negative the word red, and you could also exact negative the word or the phrase red dry erase marker. So hopefully that made sense. So you got to think, are you going after markers? Or are you going after green dry erase marker? And where is your product in that? Like how broad is it? And so maybe you have to focus more on long tail keywords. Hopefully that helped. All right. Ramiz. Oh, this must have been while we were doing the countdown timer. So the music is good. So thank you for that, Ramiz. In fact, you can also, if you're still watching, email podcast@myamazonguy.com. We'll get you a free $100 mag school course just for the nice, kind words. So we're going to reciprocate your kindness with more kindness. So our team had come up with some music, which we like. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to the music, wait till the end of the live stream. If you're watching this live, and then go back and watch the first 10 minutes and you can see what I'm talking about here. And then Abanu says it exactly described my product. Well, I'll just say this. What we believe exactly describes the product and what the customers believe are sometimes in conflict. And at the end of the day, it's not what we believe. It's not what I believe. It's not what Abanu believes. It's not what anyone else who's a seller believes. It is what the customer believes. So you're probably all familiar with, there's a big controversy. The restaurant Cracker Barrel changed their logo. The CEO went on Good Morning America and said, everyone loves it. If you go online, it's like the worst thing that ever happened in the world. I don't love it, but like my life continues on. But at the end of the day, I maybe go to Cracker Barrel once a year. There's people that go probably frequently and they don't love it. So at the end of the day, it matters what the core customers believe and not what like the CEO and the employees believe. So you have to think of it that way with your product too. You may think you have the right logo, which it's not actually logo, but you know what I mean? You may think you have the right keyword, but it's really a different keyword that might be more relevant because people are voting with their wallets. And people can tell you all day long, oh, it's great, it's great, it's great. But if they're not voting with their wallet, it's not great. So hopefully that helps. All right. So Shafo78 says, I'm a UK seller. I'm planning to move some of my items to seller fulfilled Prime. What strategy should I follow? I will keep star products in FBA, but planning to move multiple packs to seller fulfilled Prime. I know if I was in the USA, I should have warehouses in multiple locations due to the size of the country. Yeah. Okay. So that is a very good question. So I'm not as familiar with seller fulfilled Prime program in the UK. Now, granted, to your point, the United Kingdom is about the size of Texas. So at the end of the day, like you can like, as long as you're probably somewhat centrally located, it can all get there in a day. So you can fulfill 1 to 2 day or whatever the requirements are for Prime in the UK. I would say just be very careful vetting whatever warehouse you use, because at the end of the day, you are now going to be responsible for their ability to fulfill the products. And so you want to look at, are you using their postage, your postage, meaning your 3PL, or are you using the Amazon version? And maybe because you're in the UK and you don't have to worry about having like 3-4 warehouses spread all over the country and Florida and Kansas and Texas and California, that you can just be good with just maybe fulfilling it yourself. Maybe that's a strategic advantage we don't have necessarily here in the US. But I would look at, like, if you are going to get any sort of cost savings for doing this on your own, make sure it's worth your while. And I know sometimes too, it's nice not having to worry about like inventory. So like for products that don't move quite as much, I'm curious, do you have like a large SKU count? Which I do, which I can relate to. So if you have a pretty large SKU count, which I guess is relative, I've probably got like 400 or 500 active SKUs, where some people have tens of thousands. So you're just putting your star products into FBA, and you're going to fulfill either yourself or through a third-party warehouse, like the multiple packs and things of that nature. Which, if you're fulfilling it yourself, that actually makes a lot of sense, because you could have 3 packs, 6 packs, whatever, and you don't have to even like keep 3 packs and 6 packs on hand. You could probably just take 3 units and put it into a box and ship to the customer. So I guess there is value there. So now, what strategy should I follow? I would say one of the things to keep in mind is Amazon likes control. Just like I was talking about in the last person, the control of, keywords, and, and that's all ad platforms are going to. They want to control ads, because, there's only so many inventory of placements out there. And so they want to control what shows up where, and they don't want to have placements that aren't being bid on. So they want more control. And so with the customer side of things, they want to control things. So you might lose a little bit of your ranking, even though you might still have the badge. But Amazon still likes to have control. I can't say this is a fact, but it is believed by a lot of people out there that even if you have seller fulfilled Prime, if you have other competitors who are FBA, the FBA listings will get a little bit of a bump over the seller fulfilled Prime. So I would start off at the bottom of your catalog and move up. Bottom meaning what moves the least amount. And then also too, if you are using a 3PL, I would vet them, look at all their reviews, see if you can track down some of the people that left 5-star reviews and maybe even 1-star reviews. See if you can stalk those people and like reach out to them and just say, hey, do you mind telling me about your experience with X, Y, and Z? It's one thing now when it's August, September, and it's like relatively slowish. But when you get to the holidays, you are being judged by their metrics. And maybe you're fulfilling this in-house and I didn't understand that. So, all right, let's get to some other questions here. Hopefully that was helpful for you, Shafo. Abanoob says, I have the best review rating and review count over all sellers who sell the same piece. They're ranking ahead of me and have more sales than me for the exact super relevant keywords. They could be bidding more. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense. You said you have more reviews. How long has your product been in stock? Is this the US? So sometimes it doesn't make sense. So it could also be your click-through rate. If you're comfortable telling me the product and what one example of a keyword is, if you're not, don't worry about it. But if you are, we'll take a look at it together and I'll give you my opinion as an outsider. Muhammad Y says hello. Well, hello, and you got the big smiley face in your icon. There's text. I cannot read that, which maybe someone else can. But once you get over 40, your close-up vision just goes down the tubes. All right. So Afan Ahmed says, I changed multiple routes in the title at a time, got deranked in PPC, stopped performing for multiple keywords. I reverted it back, which sounds smart, and PPC started performing again. However, ranks are not improving, and it's been about 8 days since I reverted it back. Should I continue to wait and push on PPC to see if my ranks get better, or should take any other measures? My click-through rate and conversion is better than overall niche median. All right, so yeah, that's a good question. So you changed your title quite a bit. The hard part is if you change a lot of variables, not just like one word here, one word there, you don't know which variable was that changed everything. And so unfortunately, you can't just like flip a switch and just go back to the way it was, because maybe there's new competitors, or maybe all of a sudden Amazon's metrics, when you suddenly were no longer in first place or whatever, someone else was bumped to first place, and Amazon's algorithm likes the metrics better, or just the metrics are more favorable to, click-through rate, conversion rate, whatever. You may have better than the overall niche, but what you don't know and they don't tell you is compared to those other people or those other products that are ranked higher than you. So I would take a hard look. Are their images different in some way? Now, don't just clone to be like almost the exact same image with the exact same words, because that doesn't work, because now all of a sudden people are just confused because two things look the same. But is there something they're doing differently? Even if it's not the exact strategy they're doing, there's something similar to that strategy that maybe will help you, because you did make a big change in the title, which we all do, but sometimes it goes great, sometimes not so great. And I know you reverted back, and hopefully that picks up. And maybe if there are certain keywords that were really important that have lost a little bit, maybe you increase it. And some of it too is also keep in mind, like, it's the last week of August. Next week, if we're talking about Amazon.com, next week, or this coming weekend, I should say, is a holiday weekend. So next Monday is a holiday, and that affects things too. Like, it's kind of this weird transition period between summertime and going into back to school. Most places in the US are already back to school. Some places in the Northeast and some other places will wait until right after Labor Day, which will be Monday. So there's a chance it just could just be a weird time. So 8 days, I know it's can feel like an eternity when things aren't going the way you want, but it might not be that factor. It might not be the factor of the change you made. It just might be things are slow. And maybe once there's more people searching and more impressions, you hopefully get more favorable in the algorithm's eyes, because the algorithm sees stuff with eyes. But you know what I mean? Like the data moves you higher in the rankings. So maybe just put the gas on some of those primary keywords that you're going for in your PPC and see if that helps. Also make sure that you're with those. A couple other things you could do that are non-PPC related in your main image. Maybe have one of those keywords in the main image somehow, like on packaging. If you have also that keyword, make sure it's in your bullet points, back in search terms. I would include it probably on some of your images. This is a debatable thing as to how much the AI is looking at images, but like the actual word in an image, like secondary image. And then maybe in some of your A+ content, make sure you have crawlable text with your A+ content that includes in a natural, not just keyword stuffed way, whatever keywords you're going after. And then also make sure, this is a little bit of a gray area, but we use this quite a bit, Mag. You have up to 100 characters in your alt text of non-comparison chart images. So most of your images in your A+ content, excuse me, you can actually put some keywords, up to 100 characters. So you can stuff some keywords in there, and that should give you a little bit of bump too. So hopefully that helps. So I know it can be frustrating after you make a change. You think the change is going to go well. Sometimes you have to, as a business owner, you just have to try different things. Sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. And you just got to try different things to get back into where you were, which I hope it comes back soon. All right. Abanoob says, I don't know what is happening. I'm ahead of them, but don't have sales. I have better copy and better images. Well, here's also the thing to keep in mind. If you're just looking at like sales, like if you're looking at BSR, they might be doing a lot of, depending on the product, and if it lends itself well to influencer marketing, they might be doing a lot of influencer marketing. They might be doing blog marketing. Like, and this is one that is very hard to tell, like where the traffic is coming from. but they might be getting traffic from other places. They might be running DSP, which isn't going to work in a lot of niches, but in some niches it would work really well. So there's a variety of factors that some you can kind of tell on the surface. There's a lot of stuff hiding in plain sight on Amazon. But if there's traffic that's coming in from the outside, like if they're running Google ads, then that could make a difference too. And sometimes that could also affect their ranking if they're bringing in outside traffic. So you could also like just go on TikTok and look up their name brands, see if, you know, all of a sudden you've got all these UGC, user generated content influencers making content for their brand. And that could play a big factor in it. So, all right. So we've got more questions, which we'll get to here in just a moment. If you have questions, make sure to drop them into the chat, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch. I don't know if I've ever had a question come from Twitch, but we stream to Twitch. So if you're watching us on Twitch, hello. And hopefully the questions will communicate to our StreamYard platform and I'll get to see them. But I want to get to as many questions as possible. I have learned doing this for a while now that oftentimes we start getting more and more questions to the end. We're almost halfway through. So I want to be able to answer your questions. So if you ask it now, I'm more likely to get to it than if you ask it towards the end, because I go for the most part in order of who asked the question, although sometimes I'll jump out of order if I see one that's relevant. So with that, get your questions in now. And then Adriana on LinkedIn says, hello, do you think it's important to analyze new to brand customer metric? Yes, but in the grand scheme of things, I wouldn't say it's a huge thing to focus on unless you're like have a what's the word I'm looking for? If you have a subscribe and save, what I'm really trying to get at, if you have a product that lends itself to it's consumable, whether it be someone ingests it or it's, you know, tape. I go through a lot of packing tape. So something where people are going to come back and buy again and again and again. So if you have a product that lends itself well to repeat customers, then new to brand is a good one. If you are selling markers, maybe people come back and buy markers. Maybe that's not a great example. If you're selling a can opener, when's somebody going to buy another can opener? Probably if they lose it or they move and they lost it or something like that. People don't buy some products very often. So theoretically, all your customers are going to be new to brand. So it just depends on the product, but I wouldn't say that new to brand is something that I would say in most cases is a metric you should be optimizing towards. Now, if you have, let's say, really strong data on repeat customers and you get a lot of subscribe and save, and, you know, X% become subscribe and save, or X% will buy more than once, then you could really start focusing in on new to brand, because that's going to help you not just for making a sale, but making multiple sales. So I would think of it in that light. And if Amazon gives us a lot of data, this is great, but some of it is overwhelming. And sometimes it's just like we're optimizing for the wrong things. There's an example I give sometimes is, I believe it was in the 70s. There was a flight to Miami, and this is kind of a famous one. It's tragic. This was like an hour and a half south of where I live. And basically there's a plane. I think it was an L-1011, like a big jumbo jet. And there's 3 pilots in the front. There's the pilot, the co-pilot, and the flight engineer. And they're all fixated on the fact that there's this one little light that was like indicating something to do with like the landing gear was down or not. All of them, they're all focused on this light. They missed the important thing, that they were losing altitude and they crashed. And that's an analogy, I think, in business, is that sometimes we can get hung up on these like little lights, these little details that they're good to have, like maybe on a dashboard just to know, but don't optimize for one thing at the expense of what's most important. So sales is a lot like your altitude and your speed and your direction, as opposed to new to brand might be one of these little lights where it's like, if it's on, it may not matter for where you're at this point in time, but maybe it's going to matter more at another time. And maybe there's other ways you can get the data you need without focusing on that one little light. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So Viper 1213 says, I'm trying to relaunch after stocking out. I've received my shipment September 20th in time for Prime Big Deal. What should I do to prepare for it? Should I be aggressive or wait till Prime Big Deals? I have a $45 electronic item, which some days are good, some are bad. Some days auto does well, some days gets nothing. How can I best optimize it? Do coupons lower your average 30-day price? Yes, they do. Coupons, your average 30-day price, I forget exactly how they phrase it. And I just get frustrated every time I try to do coupons because I always feel like, no, why can't I do a coupon for this one? So yes, it's going to both affect your future coupons you try to run, because you can only run coupons for up to 30 days and you can only, and so both the price you've done in the past and then the price you will potentially do in the future, because in the future, that'll be your rolling past price. So yeah, just, I would say get aggressive with potentially lowering your price. Now that's going to affect your ability to run coupons. Now, what you could do is try lowering your price without a coupon to what you would be net with a coupon. So for example, if you're going to do a $5 coupon and you go from 45 to 40, you just lower your price to $40 so that way, when you go to run it $45 net price with a $5 coupon, that should work out in your favor, because coupons are only taken about half the time. So just keep that in mind. And then coupons too, you also want to do the math, because I think it's 2.5% for the coupon. That was the last time I ran a coupon the other day. I noticed that it's no longer for the longest time, I was just repeat the same coupon over and over again. But I went back in, I was looking at it, I was like, oh yeah, they're charging that, like, I think it's like $5 plus 250 or 2.5%, whatever that is. Just make sure you know the numbers and what makes sense too before you run a coupon versus just lowering your price. And sometimes just lowering your price will get you more sales. But if you want to raise the price and run a coupon, you got to make sure that makes sense as well, with how Amazon makes you eligible. But yeah, I would say, be aggressive. I wouldn't, as far as the Prime deals, I don't even know how that's going to go this year. Like, yes, they do that like Prime deal thing in October-ish. I haven't seen the dates for it yet. But that tends to be a dud, and Prime Day has become more and more of a dud. So I wouldn't put all your eggs in the basket of, I'll just wait until that comes in and then I'll really focus on getting aggressive. I would just get aggressive. Yes, people are looking for deals on days like that, but it's becoming less important, as Prime Day goes to 2 days to 4 days. So it's just, I think people are Prime Day'd out, if that makes sense to customers, that is. So I wouldn't put all your eggs in the basket of waiting for Prime Day to try to spike your sales. Shafo says, I will fulfill from my own warehouse. I will use my own post contract that's connected to Amazon systems. So I'll directly buy shipping from Amazon with my contract. Okay, that's good. That would be the way to go. This person was talking about switching to to seller fulfilled Prime. He's in the UK, so he just needs one location, which you would not be able to pull off in the US. You need multiple locations spread out around the country to be able to do seller fulfilled Prime in the US, but in the UK, if you're able to do that, that sounds awesome. It says, I don't have a huge SKU count. It will increase to 50 by New Year. Okay, yeah. So I would say just, keep your top products in FBA and then start maybe at the bottom and do those seller fulfilled Prime, and then get your operations feeling smooth too before you go all in on that as well, would be my suggestion. Jawad says, I have a warehouse in US, New Jersey, and we're providing tree service. Let me know if you need any. Okay, great. Thank you. Gaurav says, looking for a job. Would you help, please? You could always go to myamazonguy.com/jobs and apply there. Again, myamazonguy.com/jobs. I don't think I have a banner for that. I don't, but it's pretty easy one to remember. myamazonguy.com/jobs. All right, next up, let's get to some more questions here. All right, so the next question we have is, we want knowledge. This is good. A lot of people that want knowledge. Hi, Kevin. How the product targeting affect the organic rank in new launch and existing launch? Give me a look how they work. Okay, so if you run a Google ad for a particular term, for a keyword, it's going to have little to no effect. Some people will say it has a little bit of effect, but Google pretty much says that they're isolated. Google has very different, and I use Google as a, I know the question wasn't about Google, but it'll make sense here in a minute. Google keeps organic as this like sacrosanct, like, you know, if you're looking up like best whatever, they want the best whatever to show up. It's meant to be informational. Google is really more an informational search platform. So your paid Google ads have very little to do with your ability to show up organically. On Amazon, paid influences organic because at the end of the day, Amazon just wants sales. So if you think about it, there's only so many people searching for whatever. So whatever your search term is, there's only so many searches per day. So you take however many searches there are times however many paid spots there are times however many organic spots there are. Now, they're willing to let you jump up in line somewhat with paid, because with paid, you're at least contributing to how much money they're going to make on the other side. But they're basically saying to themselves, okay, if there's X number of searches and X number of impressions, so every time we give an impression to a product, how much money are we making? And that might be a fraction of a cent for every impression. So and you can validate what I'm about to say here by looking at managed experiments. When they think of conversion rate, it's not based on people that visit the page, what percentage buy. They're looking at it as from impression to purchase. That is their conversion rate that they're really looking at, I think, which fits the conversion rates they show you in managed experiments. So if you think about it, you're signaling to the algorithm with paid that your product is able to get sales. And so you can kind of start jumping up the rank organically if you're getting paid sales. Now, their algorithm, if there's, let's say, you know, products that have been around for 7 years and are getting 100 sales a day, and your product is getting 5 sales a day from paid, they're not going to bump you into the first spot. They're not going to take away from their winner, but maybe your data is looking better than something else that's there. And so you're going to start moving up. So Amazon is all about the flywheel effect, meaning you have to have sales in order to get impressions. Now, but in order to get impressions, you have to have sales, but to get sales, you have to get impressions. So it's this chicken and egg problem. So at least you're going to get the impressions with PPC. You don't necessarily get sales with PPC. PPC just says, hey, customers, there's this product. And if people aren't clicking on it and they're not buying it, you're probably not going to get the impressions anymore. So if you're getting the impressions and you're getting the clicks and you're getting the sales, then they're more likely to show you organically. So that's basically how it works. Hopefully that made sense. All right. Follow-up question to that. And Mag have teach the 4-phase SEO, just to clarify that in that first and second phase, what keyword I index to how many times and what should I do in 3 and 4 phase, which phase I use search query performance terms. That search query performance is more about like phase 4. Whereas in the beginning, we're more focused on, going after what keywords you have and what keywords you have opportunity for, like your strike zone. So I would focus more than anything, if you're do this, email Kevin, or not Kevin, email podcast singular at myamazonguy.com, and we'll get you a coupon code, which you can use for either of our SEO courses, your choice of which one, and go from there. All right. So Sadiq AMZ LLC asks how to track tacos efficiently. So from an account perspective, it's simple. It's basically, what are your total sales? Or basically take your ad spend divided by total sales, and that'll give you your tacos. Now, it'd be nice if we can figure out it cleanly for your products. So when in doubt, the best thing to do is always have no more than one product per campaign, one product per ad group, one ad group per campaign. And so that way you have cleaner data if you want to try to figure this out in a spreadsheet, which you can. And I know there's some tools that'll give you pretty good data on it. Like if you're trying to figure it out by search term, it's a little bit harder. But I would say more than anything, are you getting sales for that search term? And are you at least growing in rank? That's the main thing. If you're trying to look as efficiently as possible, because you could go down a rabbit hole trying to figure that one out. All right. Next up, Sadi Ahmed says, where did my question went? Did you have a question? Oh, yeah, you did. If I skipped it, I apologize. All right. Looks like you asked it again. So I'll bring it up here. All right. So the question here is, I have shortlisted around 30 best keywords. How many of it should I use in PPC? Can't target them all. Why not? So confused which ones I should start targeting. Mid search volume, high search volume, low search volume, mid search volume, specifically when on low budget. So it sounds like you're more looking at this from the standpoint of budget. So one of the things you got to think about is this way. At a certain point, you just got to go after it. 30 keywords is not that many. So I would probably say maybe you take your top 5 and you put it in your high search volume. You take your next 10 and put that in your medium search volume. And then your next whatever in your low search, would that be 15 keywords? So that adds up to 30. Put that in your low search volume. So never more than 20. We tend to find 5 to 10 is the sweet spot. But if you have low search volume, I think sometimes it's fine to put them in, group them together. Then what you could do from there is basically, if you ran $10 a day per campaign, that's going to be $30. And so you have to look at it as your budget is how much are you willing to spend, not knowing how much you'll get back. Now, over time, the data will point to some of your low search volume keywords might be super relevant and do really well. Some of your high search volume keywords may just bleed you dry and you get no sales, or you have like a 300% ACOS. So it's hard to know in the beginning what's going to work and what doesn't, but you basically have to at least have the mindset of, I'm going to have for at least a couple of weeks, the mindset of I'm just going to spend and I may not get any sales back. Now, hopefully you do, and you get it fairly quickly. And then you can figure out like, okay, where is my money coming from? And then ultimately, once you get to a point of figuring out like what is profitable, If it's profitable, run ads all day long. Don't run out of budget, because your budget is being taken care of by your sales. And so eventually you get to a point where, yes, you want to put a budget as a guardrail so that all of a sudden you don't spend $5,000 a day when you meant to spend 100. But I would say don't look at budget as anything more than a guardrail to not spend more than you're hoping for. And what you should be spending as time goes on and you have more data and you know what sells, you should be willing to spend more. Because you'd be basically spending less on keywords that aren't performing, because either you turn them off, you negate them, you lower the bids super low on ones that aren't getting a lot of sales. All right. Jawad Ali Ghul says, what to do if you have newly launched a product and there are a lot of competition, and now you're getting one order after getting 15 to 20 clicks. So the conversion is pretty low, provided that the listing is optimized pretty good, have good images and A+ content. So what steps can be taken to elevate the sales? All right. So you got to ask yourself, take a hard look. Why are people buying the competition and not yours? And you could run pick food tests where people give you feedback on your product. And at least people like, is there anything that's confusing on the listing? Anything that we could word better? You may want to ask that, because oftentimes we think, oh yeah, I optimized it really well. And at the end of the day, it's not what we think, it's what the customers think. So the customers may not think that. And so if you have some new competition that you're getting, maybe they have better images. Maybe they're doing a better way of presenting the product. So you have to take a hard look and be honest with that. And don't take it personally. It's all data. It's not like they're like, oh, I don't want to buy this because of Jawad. It's like they're not buying it for some other reason. So you have to take kind of a Socratic approach, kind of like a doctor, is you're ruling out what it could be. Could it be my main image? Could it be the main image stack? Look at some of the competitors who are getting more sales. What are they doing differently, and how can you incorporate that into what you're doing? All right. Next up, to Homer Mischeck. Is that a Czech name? I apologize. I probably just totally butchered it. During the 5 best deal, August 17th to the 22nd, we sold an average of 7 products per day, $100 product. And in the remaining 3 days, only 2 pieces in total, PPC 1 piece. I've been on Amazon for 3 years, and I have experienced such a sudden, unexpected drop in sales. In the meantime, there's been no significant change in the listing or competition levels. According to Data Dive, the ranking is currently much better than before the campaign began, and there are still no sales today. I'm very concerned about this otherwise very competitive product. Thanks for the comment. So yeah, this is a good question. And sometimes it's just weird. So I would say figure out last year at the end of August, what did it look like? Just pull the month of August in business reports and just look and see, like, were there any weeks that were kind of a little up and down? I don't know that it probably has anything to do with the deal you ran that's affecting your sales. It's possible that maybe you got a lot of clicks, but it didn't convert as much. That's possible. Maybe the algorithm didn't like that, and you'd think it would be keeping it separate from regular sales beforehand, but you don't know. But I would say it's hard to say because we're talking about through the 22nd. So that was Friday. So here we are 4 days later. It's the end of August. August is a weird time. I wouldn't be too concerned just yet. It is concerning when you have a few bad days. I find that sometimes just weird stuff happens. Labor Day was probably later. What would have been probably the 2nd last year. So it's a little earlier. I guess it's always a little earlier. But anyway, I wouldn't worry too much. We're right before, if you're talking about selling on Amazon in the US, we are right before Labor Day. It's right before the holiday. It's the end of summer. people spend a lot of money on back to school, maybe just for whatever reason, it's not selling as well this year. And that sometimes you have weird anomalies that happen. But, if we're talking about since, basically in the last week, I wouldn't worry too much about a longer time horizon, especially if you're saying that, like, at least the data is pointing to your competitors are having the same issue. So it's not like anything you're doing wrong or that there's a lot to optimize. It might just be there's just fewer people searching for it this week. That happens, especially when it's a weird week like the end of August as school is going back. People are going back to school. Anyway, all right. Next up, as Zane Akhtar says, I'm running an exact match campaign, but none of the words in that exact match have gotten sales. The keyword group in that campaign have gotten sales, but at a very high ACOS. How do I optimize this? Also, weirdly, I created an exact campaign for a successful keyword I obtained from search terms. It doesn't do well, but the keyword still gets sales from other broad campaigns. LOL, PPC is weird. Yes, it is. Does Mag have PPC coaching? I want full management services. Oh, I don't want full management services because I won't learn anything. But coaching to grow my brand that I have launched would be awesome. Yes, we do have coaching services. You could go to myamazonguy.com/coach. Let me just make sure I'm saying the right thing. Yes, you can book a coaching call if you go to myamazonguy.com/coach, which let me just share my screen here real quick. I didn't ask him to say that. He asked that on his own, just for everybody else watching. But yes, anybody watching that would like a little extra help, you can book with our team, with some of our experienced brand managers and brand directors, or with Noah. You can get your questions asked. You can book a 30-minute call, or you can just email in a question, you get a response back. And sometimes it's good just having someone taking a look at things with you. And of course, PPC is one of the things we'd be more than happy to take a look at. But you can just go to myamazonguy.com/coach, and we would be more than happy to help you out. But yeah, as far as you mentioned that sometimes you're finding you're getting a lot more sales from your broad than from your exact. We find that to be the case all the time. And we think it's just the sacred cow from the last few years that people say, go after exact. And then people aren't going after broad. Well, it just creates better deals with broad. Even if it's the exact term, just showing up for broad might do better. And I think it goes back to what I was saying before is Amazon wants control. And all ad platforms are going to this, where it's like, give us more control and we'll just figure it out. Like, I don't know if people saw this, but like Facebook, for example, they're coming up with like, yeah, you just turn it on and tell us what you're selling, and then we'll come up with the copy and the graphics and everything. That's scary. I don't know if they've rolled that out just yet, or if that's just Mark Zuckerberg brainstorming out loud. But I would, going back to this, just keep in mind they want more control. They have a little more control with broad, and it's not control because they want control over your life. It's more just think about it from their standpoint. They have lots of impressions. If everyone's bidding on certain keywords, customers are also searching for all these other little keywords that probably don't have as many people going after them. So if they have more ability with broad and phrase to fill all of these this inventory of impressions, it's better for them, and it can drive their drive their revenue up. But you might get deals for those sales, meaning deals like for the keyword relative to what it would be if you're going after exact. So sometimes it's better just to go after broad. You would think exact would do better. I know it used to be exact would be much, much better, but oftentimes what happens is, and I say this as a marketer, marketers ruin everything. It's a saying I've heard for years, and it tends to be true. If people find out, oh, this works, everyone else is doing that too. So right now, sometimes just doing broad is zigging while everyone else is zagging. So you got to do it a little differently because everyone else is going all over. So next up, Siddiqui AMZ says, Mag YouTube loaded SEO phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, but they're like 5 years old, phase 1 video. So my question, is it still relevant? So here's a good question. So you could go to myamazonguy.com. And let me take myself out of there. So this little banner here will take you to, we're doing actually a master class this Thursday on SEO. I would highly suggest going to this since you have some specific SEO related questions, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions, but go ahead and register. Just go to myamazonguy.com, and then we've got this banner, and just click on that banner for the Amazon SEO Masterclass. But even though some of those videos that you're referring to are 5 years old, they still work. Some things still work on Amazon. Now, the pink keyword thing doesn't really work the same like it used to. But overall, it still works. We still use those same philosophies internally to do about $1.2 billion annually. And MAG has done about $6 billion total for customers. So what worked then still works now. You know, oftentimes we think like, oh, we got to have the latest hack, the latest shiny penny. And sometimes it's just because people that are on the internet talking about things like to talk about new things because that tends to get more traction. It's not as sexy to talk about what worked 5 years ago that still works now. No, this is new, exciting. But sometimes what still worked 5 years ago still works now. Keep doing it because it's foundational. All right. Next up, Phil Chu says, do you have a mastermind group? We do not have a mastermind group. We do have a Facebook group, which I don't know if you're joining us from the Facebook group or from our Facebook page, but you can just look up My Amazon Guy Facebook group. You could also come to our live stream next week, or not next week. It's our live stream we're hosting on Thursday of this week, I should say. Just sign up, go to myamazonguy.com, click on this little banner for the Amazon SEO Masterclass and sign up for it there. We'll be more than happy to help you out. And then, someone else had said I had offered to basically take a look at their listing and see their product compared to the competition, which I totally get that. So if you're not comfortable sharing that publicly and you want, and this goes for everybody, if you'd like us to take a look at your product, you can go to myamazonguy.com/ASIN, and you can get a free video listing audit, an ASIN review from our team. We'd be more than happy to do that. We do that all the time. We have a team of people that's their entire job. So it doesn't put us out at all. And you can get some good feedback, and maybe there's things that you want to employ based on what we shared with you. And if anything, you'll just at least get another set of eyes looking at your product. All right. I think I have time for one more. Let me go back to the questions. So can you please explain placement for ASIN targeting, like how placements work, like what's mean by top of search, rest of search, and product pages? Yes. So this is an interesting one. So ASIN targeting is really you're showing up on the ASIN. So like, because it used to be the only way you could show up on someone else's ASIN is through auto. So you would show up in that little carousel of other sponsored products. Now there's multiple carousels. They've added lots more placements. But basically, it used to be you couldn't control where your product was showing. Now you can by targeting certain ASINs. And so it's interesting because I've had somebody point out before that you will, like if you pull reports, you can see you will have sales show up for top of search, rest of search, and product pages. What is believed, and I think this is the case as well, is that even if it's an ASIN target, how do people get to that ASIN, like to that listing that you're targeting? Did they come in from top of search, rest of search, whatever? So there's still keywords that they searched for that are influencing that they got to that listing that you're targeting for that ASIN. and then they clicked on your ad and then went to your listing. So that's where the top of search, rest of search, and product pages comes in. So, and then which one is best? The answer is, and I've come to learn this is the answer for a lot of things in business, especially on the internet. It depends. Depends on where you're getting the sales. Sometimes people will say, oh, it's all about top of search, top of search, top of search. Well, like I said, I'm a marketer, and I will say this with pride, marketers ruin everything. So if it was working to only go after top of search, if everyone else is following that bandwagon, suddenly it's not as effective as it used to be. So it's you water, or the grass is greenest where you're watering it. But in this case, it's actually you're watering where it's greenest. So that would be the way I would say. All right. So with that, thank you everybody for jumping on here. We've gotten to the top of the hour. Hopefully this was helpful to you. I know I didn't get to everyone's questions. Join us for the next one. Also this Friday, Noah Wickham will be doing a Q&A as well. So you might be able to get your questions asked there. And on Thursday, Noah and I will be doing a private live stream, a masterclass, which you do have to opt in for, but you can just go to myamazonguy.com. And on that homepage, you'll see like a little banner, and it says Amazon SEO Masterclass. I was just looking at the other monitor. You can sign up for that, and you get questions answered there too. So lots of ways we can answer your question. You can also sign up for a coaching call, and we can have our team devote time looking into your specific situation, more one-on-one. So you can go to myamazonguy.com/coach for that. So with that, everybody, take care.